Oh my God, Mike, it's a storm warning. Welcome to the Fantasy Forecast with Grindberg and Biggs. He is Grindberg. I am Biggs. We're issuing a storm warning as we break down the top fragile profiles for the 2025 redraft season. These are players with lightning in a bottle, but also storm clouds gathering on the horizon. They're being drafted high, but the forecast shows serious volatility. Not all of them are being drafted high. Injury prone histories, shaky usage trends, unstable team situations, etc. These picks come with a major risk. One wrong gust of wind could blow up your season, or they could shine bright when it matters most. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing awesome, man. That was awesome. That was a great intro, buddy. Excited for this show because, you know, boom or bust. They could really help your lineup. They could really damage your lineup. It's hard to pick which week some of these players might go off, and some of these guys had fragile seasons last year, whether it was injury or whatnot. And it'll be
Yeah,
interesting to see as we crawl towards our number one picks right away. So,
and
Biggs.
we're not here to spread fear. We're here to bring clarity. Our job is to read the signs and help you predict which way the chips will fall. Know where the fault lines lie, and you'll build a roster ready to weather any storm. This episode might just be the difference between draft day disaster and breakout success. We building champions, baby.
We are, man. Well, why don't you get us started off with your first guy? What's the first boomer bust fragile profile you're talking about today, Biggs?
First boomer bust profile is going to be Chris Olave. Olave, New Orleans Saints wide receiver. He is looking at a pretty big uphill climb in 2025. He dealt with some pretty serious concussion issues last year. Managed only 8 games. His obviously his lowest fantasy points total, his lowest target rate, his lowest reception rate, um, his lowest fantasy standing. He finished as the PPR 94. Obviously, he was a second round or third round pick in redraft leagues last year, and that kind of return is pretty bad. However, we know the upside. In his second year, he finishes the wide receiver 16. We know that if he returns to a schedule where he's getting 140 targets, in a prolific offense, especially with some assistance from Alvin Kamara and the rest of the receiving core, even if it's with a rookie quarterback, Tyler Shuck, Olave could return to prominence. That's what I'm banking on. I'm not one to kind of like fade a guy uh, intending to or imagining that they are going to get injured. You just can't do that because it's the NFL. Players get injured all the time at every position throughout the season, and you can't really put a finger on predicting that somebody is going to get injured. You can mitigate some risk. Yes, he's had some concussion issues, but there are plenty of players who have dealt with concussion issues and then never had another concussion. So it kind of goes both ways. You can put your finger on one or the other, and you're going to be right 50% of the time. I'm banking on the upside of Chris Olave. I'm looking at him participating in 17 games for the New Orleans Saints. I'm looking at him being the number one target earner in that offense. But again, it comes with a little risk, and that's what we're doing here today.
Yeah, I mean, if you're willing to bank on that upside, he's known to be a good separator. That draft capital. I know it was 4 years ago, and we can't really hone in on that. But since then he's proved to be the number one target. He's the most talented guy. Yeah, Rashid Shaheed is gonna play in there, but they play different skill sets. Alvin Kamara is always commanding more, but he's hitting that age cliff too. So look for that rookie quarterback Tyler Shuck, like you mentioned, to rely on their number one guy, and that's Chris Olave. So as long as he can stay healthy, that risk is worth taking, especially where he's going right now in redraft leagues right now. So yeah, I like that call, Biggs.
Hey, Mike, did you pick a guy?
I did pick a guy, and you know who my guy is? My guy is from your area or is playing in your area, Biggs, and that's CMC. And there's no sugarcoating it. Christian McCaffrey, he left fantasy teams wrecked in 2024. A brutal combo of Achilles, knee injuries. It slammed the brakes on what was supposed to be a monster season. He had just 4 games played, 0 touchdowns. It was his lowest yardage total since entering the league. But now heading into 2025, yes, he's 29 years old with a medical chart that reads more like a disaster drill checklist. But CMC is still a top 15 pick in redrafts because of, certain things. 2023, he averaged a ridiculous 24.7 PPR points per game. That was nearly 8 points more than the next running back. He, in a handful of games in 2024, he had 65 touches in 4 games, including a 68 receiving yards in his first game back. That is elite dual threat usage. And you know what? A couple guys got shifted off last year that, is giving up 198 rush attempts vacated last year. Jordan Mason's gone. Deebo Samuel's gone. Elijah Mitchell is now gone, leaving, just Jordan James and Isaac Garendo being backup. So, I mean, it's looking like San Francisco is trusting that CMC is going to be back to full health, and so will I. I mean, if he's going to get 13 to 15 games, you're looking at an RB1 here. He's being drafted as the RB6 right now in early redraft rankings, and if CMC catches wind here and does a decent job, he's easily breaking that ADP bigs.
Absolutely. And we know that this last week the Scott Fishbowl scoring has been released, and a lot of it is points per target, point or not points per target, points per reception, boosts, and points per carry, which means that I am targeting Christian McCaffrey from the 110 position. I'm targeting him as my second pick. I'm trying to go tight end with my first one for that premium, and then go CMC in the second round. And worked out in a mock draft for me today. So I'm kind of happy about that.
That's awesome, Biggs. Now tell us, who is your number two guy? Who is your next guy on the list here of your boom and bust list?
So my number two guy. Let's look at this profile. In the last 5 seasons completed, he has had wide receiver fantasy finishes of wide receiver 2, wide receiver 6, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 2, and wide receiver 18. I'm talking about Tyreek Hill of the Miami Dolphins. He had one of the biggest drop offs from what is expected over the course of 2024. He wound up as PPR 18. He only had 123 targets, which is very, very short of his average of about 163 targets per season. It was the first time in 4 years that he had got fallen under 110 receptions, and he wasn't in double digits. So essentially, what happened with Tyreek last year, we all thought that he was going to come back strong with a healthy Tua coming off that concussion, and that didn't really play out. Tyreek dealt with a lot of nagging little injuries throughout the season, and his production really, really fell off a cliff. Now, you're not going to be drafting Tyreek Hill as the second wide receiver off the board again. Those days are obviously gone, but you should be able to return better value than wide receiver 18. What I'm doing is I'm targeting Tyreek Hill. I'm making sure that I am mitigating the risk of him being 31 years old and dealing with chronic injuries last year, simply because of the ceiling that we know that Tyreek Hill is capable. If he comes back and he's fully rehabbed and his issues are behind him and everything, he could absolutely return top 10 value from a pick that's later than wide receiver 10. And so for that reason, he's lightning in a bottle with a little bit of risk.
There it is. Yeah. I mean, similar to you here, Biggs. My guy is kind of similar path here, coming off an injury. I mean, they're in different situations because my guy's on a new team, but I like where your head's at there with, the upside there. He's coming off an injury and, hedge your bet here. You're not betting in as a top five, redraft player in wide receiver range. You're getting him with that upside that you could pick him as your wide receiver 2. And if he, delivers wide receiver, your wide receiver 3. And if he delivers wide receiver 2 upside, then you're laughing at this stage. So yeah, very savvy there. I'm going to talk about Deebo Samuel here. And for very similar reasons, as Biggs mentioned, he's a little bit aging, coming off an injury. But the thing about Deebo here, he's changing uniforms and maybe rewriting the narrative headed into 2025. He had a tumultuous injury tinged exit from San Francisco. He now lands in Washington as a weapon for Jaden Daniels in a system that promises creativity and volume. While the upside is real, so is that volatility. That it wasn't far from his peak last year. He did crater some, and he wasn't as efficient either when he was in the lineup. He still posted those 7 wide receiver 3 or better weeks. And right now he's being drafted outside of the wide receiver 3 range. He's being drafted in and around the wide receiver 40. But that is assuming his career averages push him into the, wide receiver 2 range. And that's a massive value right now. His injury history is there, but he could be a volume, play here. Jaden Daniels, running upside here. They don't have a huge run game right now behind, Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler. So you're going to see Deebo get some touches around the line of scrimmage as well. So I'm seeing him using that upside, and there are risks here. He could be injured, but he plays a healthy 10 to 12 games. You're looking at a wide receiver 3 with wide receiver 2 upside, and he's being drafted as a wide receiver 4 right now. So there is that upside. There is a lot of risk here, but that's why I'm going to be cautious when getting some Deebo, but I'll get him as my wide receiver 4, and enjoy some weeks there where he's going to help me get some wins.
Another guy that I'm targeting in the Scott Fish Bowl simply because of the points per carry. So if you're a wide receiver and you're getting some carries, those are going to be some supplemental added points.
All right, Biggs. Before we get into our spotlights here, our number 1 guys, we got a lot to talk about on our platform.
A lot.
Let's start with here.
We are here. We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com today.
So I see you sitting at home and you're asking yourself, what do I get when I have a pro membership? Well, first of all, you get access to some of the greatest content on the internet. We just had a complete relaunch of the website, and it is fantastic. The merch store is great. The content arm is great. We're partnered with drafters, so you're going to be able to get a code to go get basically a 50% deposit bonus when you sign up for drafters and start playing best ball over there. But more importantly, you are able to join our jersey leagues that will be kicking off in a couple months. We have content creators across the platform who all will have autographed jerseys available to the winners of the leagues in our jersey leagues. And you have to be a pro member to sign up for that. So that's what you're going to want to do is go to fantasysportsadvice.com, check out our new website, get yourself a pro membership, and you'll be eligible to join our jersey leagues. And you can pick from them. So you can say, I want to be in this one because I like the Tyreek Hill jersey. I want to be in that one because I like the Deebo Samuel jersey. So yeah, it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, and we've been talking about some really cool incentives for the Jersey leagues, and we're going to, unveil some of those snippets as the Jersey leagues start rolling out here with some maybe weekly prizes and some top score stuff. So it'll be really interesting to see how it all plays out. Now, folks, if you really like this content, be sure to like and subscribe on our YouTube channel just down below here. Give it a share, give it a like. It really helps us, gain more viewers around there. So please do so, and keep plugging our content because we appreciate
Hit the
all
bell.
Hit the bell. Now, Biggs, let's get into our spotlights, and it's the segment that everybody is waiting for. They've been waiting to hear who our number 1 guys are. Who is your number 1 boomer bust? Let's get into Biggs's spot.
All right. Hey, Mike, if I asked you as 8.43 yards per carry juicy, would you say yes?
You've juiced out a lemon for sure on that one.
If I tell you can roster a guy who's a running back that's going to earn over 1 fantasy point per touch, is that juicy?
Oh, yeah.
I'm drinking the juice of Baltimore Ravens running back Keaton Mitchell. I'm handcuffing him everywhere that I possibly can. We know this guy's upside, 8.43 yards per carry during his rookie season before he got hurt. He's absolutely explosive. He's the definition of explosive. I don't know if I've seen anybody with a sustained 8.43 yards per carry before from the running back position. That is insane. On top of that, you have a very aged Derrick Henry in front of him. Now, if there's one thing we know about Derrick Henry, it's that he's very efficient. He's explosive as well. and he is durable. That doesn't take out of consideration the fact that he possibly could get hurt. If he gets hurt, Justice Hill is the only one who's in line to take away carries from Keaton Mitchell. And if Keaton Mitchell is out here doing 8.43 yards per carry, nobody's taking that job away from him. Is that a realistic expectation for 2025? No, he's absolutely a handcuff, but you're going to want to have him on your roster. He's going to be available very late, because if he does get an opportunity, even if you're looking at 5.5 or 6 yards per carry, that over 1 point per touch is absolutely electric in your lineup, and you're going to want to have Keaton Mitchell on your team.
That's a really good point, Biggs. Especially for viewers here, you're looking for these high value handcuffs. Not all our rosters are going to be deep enough to be able to roster a guy like Keaton Mitchell. But, if you have a roster that can have these handcuff guys, Keaton Mitchell shown that kind of jazz in the past, that juice that Biggs has been squeezing out of his guys over the years. This is what we're talking about here, folks. He's got that upside. And when and if that downfall of Derrick Henry comes, it could happen this year. An injury might happen, and Keaton Mitchell comes in and can be a league winner for you there, folks. So taking those kind of sleepers and turning them into fantasy gold is huge. And look at what happened to Chase Brown last year. A guy that came in, and just took a backfield because of an injury that happened. And Derrick Henry is not known to have injuries in the past, but he's 31, and he's got a lot of tread on the tire, and they used him a lot last year. So a guy that you're looking for there. And what's really good? It's Father's Day is right around the corner here, Biggs. And what do we got on the agenda here at the merch shop? We got a lot of great new things coming down the line. The rookie guide by one is on there. You can get it for $5, $4.99. Be sure to pick that up for Dad. What others? You said you noticed some pretty good shirts on there. What are some of the shirts that you saw that you might be interested in purchasing, Biggs?
Well, first of all, I want to say, don't just get the rookie guide for your dad. Get the rookie guide for yourself. So if you play in a league with your dad, you can beat the crap out of him. If you don't, but your dad plays fantasy football also, then go ahead and get him the rookie guide. You're going to want to get that. We put a lot of hard work into it. The merch store, you can see right here on YouTube. If you go down below, all the fantasy forecast merch is available. Our other show, the Dynasty Pulse, that drops on Fridays, all the merch is available for that. We've got team specific merchandise like the unbelievable Tiers Chicago Bears related merchandise. We got funny fantasy related shirts, just a ton of stuff, hoodies, t-shirts, hats, you name it, it's there. Go grab it. It's all real cool.
Yeah, and it's right around the corner. Should be able to get it to you there by Father's Day. Now, let's get into my spotlight, one that I think Biggs and I will both be excited about talking about. Here we go. All right, this guy has got some electric upside, and I think a small storm is on the horizon for Rashee Rice. He's the kind of player who can turn your fantasy season from a drizzle to a downpour, and if the stars align in 2025, I'm looking for Rashee Rice to continue his dominance that he started in 2024 before, getting that devastating knee injury. So, he played just 3 full games, but he showed he was a bona fide winner. He earned 32% of the target share in those 3 games, nearly over 100 yards a game and 17.6 PPR points a game. That is elite wide receiver 1 production. And when you look at his last 18 games played, Rice posted a consistent 13 PPR points a game, locking in a wide receiver 16 territory, proving he's reliable when healthy. Though his week 1 status is still uncertain, reports from OTAs are encouraging. Mahomes said it himself. He looks like Rashee, so I'm ready for him to wheels up here. Yes, there is that potential suspension looming from that off-field legal matters that hangs over his head, but I don't think that's going to come in play until at least 2026, if at all. And when he plays this season and everything lines up, he offers one of the best low-end wide receiver 2 prices with clear wide receiver 1 output. He's got the path for fantasy stardom built on talent, opportunity, and trust from Patrick Mahomes. Yes, we got to keep in mind that Xavier Worthy came on strong at the end of last year, but he's a more of a deep threat outside guy. Hollywood Brown is there, but he's more of a depth piece in my opinion at this stage of his career. And Travis Kelce, though still really good, he's on the decline, and we've seen that the last 2 years. Rashee Rice is in prime position here in 2025 to take off where he left off. And I think that the Chiefs have got a little bit of a bone to pick here, and things are going to look good for Rashee headed into 2025 for me.
Yeah, I don't think your trolly little comment at the beginning of that went unnoticed, Mike. Yeah. I tend to stay away from receivers. There's 5 or 6, there's a handful of teams: San Francisco 49ers, Green Bay Packers, Kansas City Chiefs, Chicago Bears. I tend to stay away from the receiving cores just because there's never one reliable fantasy target on those teams. But if there was one to emerge this year on the Kansas City Chiefs with the decline of Travis Kelce, it's going to be Rashee Rice. So yeah, that's I may own him more than expected. I may have ownership over expected this year with Rashee Rice.
Yeah, I think he's just got a lot of value here, and I think the Chiefs are going to be in more of a open kind of concept game here because I just think their defense lost some key pieces, and they may be opened up for some bigger scoring affairs, especially with what you saw happen in LA with the Chargers, making their team a lot more strong on offense. Same with the Broncos. They're emerging. I think Sean Payton thinks they're a contending team this year. And, talk about the Raiders. They've got a way of playing the Kansas City Chiefs really tight. So I think their division is a lot tougher, and they're going to be into some bigger scoring games where they're going to need their offense a bit more relied upon. So I think Rashee Rice is prime time here, especially if he evades that suspension.
Well, given the total disappearance of their downfield efficiency over the last couple of years, Patrick Mahomes needs to kind of get them on the right track again.
Absolutely. Yeah. And maybe Rashee Rice is what they needed. All right, guys and girls, it's been a great show. Looking forward to the summer starting here. The hot temperatures are already coming down on you, bigz. You had a great road trip this week, and you felt the 107 heat. Things are
Yeah,
heating up in the fantasy space as well.
being in traffic stoppages in the 107-degree desert is not fun. But it did make this 90 feel very nice.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's like a 90 here is a super hot day here in Canada. But we get up that at times here in Winnipeg, but nothing quite like the 107 that you were dealing with. So
This is like our summer floor, to put it in fantasy terms.
there it is. All right, we got a lot on the go here at the Fantasy Sports Advice Network, so be sure to stay ahead of the game here. Join our team, join our community on the fantasysportsadvicenetwork.com, and you'll see us all there. Bigz, do like you always do so well.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the show, and we hope you win.
We hope you win, everybody. Have a good week. We'll